Our guest today is one of the most popular VeVe OGs, Kyle Willson. In this interview, we talked about how Web3 gaming would change VeVe and the OMI tokens forever, especially with the new Ecomi game, Tengoku Sensodes, coming out in 2023. We also discussed about Kyle's first-hand experience trying out the VeVeVerse during the VIP event at Dcon, his biggest mistakes that cost him a lot of money, his OUP and VeVe strategy, and lessons learned over the past 2 years. Let's get to it. So tell me about Dcon. Tell me some good memories, good stories that you had there.
Well, there's a lot of good stories, but we'll start with the kind of the beginning and take it from the top. It blew my mind, so we'll put it that way. First thing when I got there, I didn't know it was going to be that big. I thought Dcon was going to be like this small event, just kind of like this mom and pops kind of feel. But it was much bigger. I mean, it was much bigger than I thought. And I saw some pretty iconic other names in the room as well. But yeah, like all in all, I would say the experience was pretty amazing. So a couple of memorable moments was meeting, like Sleeping Comics and eating lunch with them, the Comics and Crypto as well team, and just an amazing crew. I met everybody, like literally like almost a lot of creators were there. So definitely a big highlight is meeting everybody in the community for sure. And of course, meeting the team was pretty sweet too, but they were quite busy, So obviously, a lot of people are going to be demanding their attention. They're going to be doing signings and many other things. They had a lot of timed events going on. So I mean, it was a lot. It was pretty like I was just immersing all of that in and taking in the experience for the first time and trying to do a little bit less of the like streaming and more just talking and things like that. So yeah, like really impressed with it. Really impressed.
Yeah. How was your VeVeVerse moment? What went through your mind as you were watching that reveal? Because that was awesome. Like that Dcon event was probably the best offline event that I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I got to go to the VIP night, and so I got a little sneak peek in the demo, like in the Oculus. I got to actually try it out. I was pretty impressed. Like I did not expect it to be that advanced and that far along in the development process. I know people were like, "Oh, it's got to be like AAA or nothing," but that's not the case because VR is still coming a long way. So is AR. Like I think the iPhone 11 had LiDAR on it, and we're still like Facebook is like on their kind of semi-advanced headset just now. So there's a lot of like runway, for example, a lot long-term excitement still to be had. But for me, I felt that we were really, I mean, that the VeVeVerse was impressive to me because I can actually see the future with what they laid out in the VeVeVerse. I did not expect to see them launch it in that way, I guess that far along, if you will. So I was impressed. I thought it was great. And I saw some little sneak peeks of the accessories and somebody, I think you actually pointed out the flamethrower. So
yeah.
I didn't catch that. So, even more reason to be bullish. I mean, the creator economy, there's a lot of dynamics that people like just forget about. Like they just see the graphics or whatever, but you really had to be there and see it with your own two eyeballs on the screen and see it in like 20K vision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of just what was streamed on the internet. So yeah, like for me, being there in person, I thought it was great.
So I see in my latest video, I talked about how some popular metaverses like Decentraland, they had 650 active users on a daily basis in October. And now the VeVeVerse, I think at a high concept is really cool. I mean, it is a huge step from what we have today for VeVe. But do you think that they will be able to, okay, so that metaverse looks awesome, right? But then getting from a product to making it sticky, making it engaging that people will come back. Do you think the VeVeVerse or the team can execute that and make it a good product that people will come back over and over and over again?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are already seeing those like right now, just with the basic tool set on the app. So with AR and the showroom. And for example, my 4-year-old, when she's just turned 5, I think I got the Elsa on the drop, like pretty close to the drop when she was like 2 or 3. She still remembers Elsa. Like that is pretty massive. Wow. So if you can capture literal 3, 4, 5 year olds attention, and they still remember those experiences, the chances are you're going to capture a large portion of all ages. And so when we see the VeVeVerse, that is going to be very sticky in itself. Just seeing the beta of that, and I think they'll continue to have those sticky experiences. I think when the brands you see know, trust, and love since you were like 0 years old, like since you could lay eyes on a TV, you could read a comic, you could, maybe you have models, maybe people collect, whatever. Like you can see those in AR and VR like you never have been able to do before, and you can actually own these cool characters and brands and asset. That's sticky itself. Now that they're going to do accessories, couches, hanging out, streaming, like, yeah, it's going to be very sticky. It's going to be very sticky.
Yeah. And what makes you most excited about the VeVeVerse? Because there are so many elements in it. Gamification, there's going to be like branded, like IP branded cities, like a Marvel city, a DC city. There are like the showrooms where people can visit each other. And there are all these social activities happening in there. What is something that you are most excited about?
Yeah, I'm excited for those themed experiences. I've been waiting for that for a very long time. Even the smaller features, like being able to see mint numbers, or
Mm.
maybe able to go into somebody's showroom and click on their NFT and maybe offer to buy that NFT. So I think that's going to be, that's kind of underestimated at this time. But once people are actually in there and immersing themselves, I think we're going to see people. It's going to really click in people's brains and be like, "Wow, these are actually really impressive features, and this is actually really exciting." Just sitting on a couch or hanging out, we're all watching, a game in the VeVeVerse or whatever, or streaming it, whatever the case may be, right? I think that's going to be massive, and I think that's going to be quite attractive.
Yeah. So a while back, I did this sort of like VeVeVerse 1.0 video where you know how you can share your showroom on the VeVe social feed on the app. So I asked one of my last interview guests, Grubber B. He has like 2,500 collectibles. I asked him to make like 7 showrooms.
Oh wow! I just saw VV's launching Obi-Wan Kenobi, by the way, like the
Oh,
actual
yeah,
3D
yeah, yeah. I
model.
saw that.
Wow, wow! I just got a notification. Sorry.
No,
That's
no,
pretty
no worries.
amazing. I'm excited as a Star Wars fan. That's just wild. All right,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no,
Sharing
no,
the
no worries.
showrooms.
Yeah, he shared a showroom, and if you share a showroom with me, I can open it on my phone, right? Well, I like to make videos, so I took it a step further. Like I bought another phone so I can like load the heavy showrooms. So I went out and actually filmed his showrooms, and then him, and another friend Eddie, we watched that video of me going around his showroom and talked about it. And within the video, I added the mint numbers and those kind of things because his collection is like many of them are sub 100, and we had a really good time. So I can really imagine like people getting together, just look at different, cool mint numbers and collectibles within the VeVeVerse, and I can see that like a lot of people will be interested in doing that. So
Yeah.
what was the demo that you had in a VIP event? Was it outside of the VeVeVerse, or was it like actually inside, and you can like look at the different collectibles?
Yeah, so I was on the outside of that building looking
Mhm.
around, and I think you could actually go in. I didn't even know you could go in, or actually they had indoor and outdoor, so that I just had to remember, but I did both. So the indoor and outdoor. And yeah, so I got to see all the collectibles, like the fish, swimming around. And obviously that was a huge Easter egg of interoperability. Like that's a
Yeah.
tease on interoperability. That's massive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Dan even said during one of the announcements, like porting over other NFTs, like Bored Apes, for example. So I got to see the indoor and outdoor versions of the VeVeVerse, which were pretty exciting. I mean, I know they say it showed more of a high quality polished version on the laptops itself. So again, if you have more high powered devices, these are going to be more high quality experiences. So for me, I have a like 3090 GPU, for example. I'll be able to see these things like
Yeah.
ripping through 4K, 4K and 8K and all that stuff, right? So
Yeah. You
maybe not
mentioned
8K,
that.
but like 4K.
All right. Yeah, I think like when the especially since Apple and Meta are working on their VR and AR headsets, that's going to be very exciting as well. Um, so you mentioned that you have a 5-year-old daughter, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And this is a two-part question. So I don't have kids, so I would love to get your perspective on this. Do you think that your daughter will be interested in using VeVe? Maybe, and this is a question that I asked some other VeVe friends in the past. What if there is because the current VeVe app is not really suitable for kids, like you have to invest, you trade, you lose money, those kind of things. What if there is a VeVe Kids app that everything costs $5? You can only buy, but you cannot sell. Like, like how kids buy toys nowadays. They go to a toy store, they buy a toy that they like, and they play around with it. What do you think about that concept? Do you think your daughter will like it? And my second part to that question is, do you think the concept of putting a headset and going to the metaverse, is that a good thing or a bad thing for the development of your daughter?
Mhm. Yeah, so I could see them gating off an experience for kids. Like that's going to be a big legal navigation in itself, and
Mm,
maybe they just do a disclaimer and 18 only plus for for the short term, and then maybe mid to long term they add in an additional app, much like YouTube Kids. They have
mm,
their separate app, and there's limited functions you can do, and it's literally designed for kids. So and they have different age options as well, so you can select different age brackets. VeVe could do the exact same thing there and just have, like you said, where you can't even like buy things. Maybe maybe everything's just locked, and maybe you could connect your actual account, your chaperone account or your guardian account or whatever, connect it up to
mm.
the kids. The kids could enjoy those collectibles that you own, maybe. So there's a lot of different ways they could do that, but yeah, they could definitely create a kids app. I think it would be separate probably from the actual VeVe app itself. I don't know if it would be feasible to have both in the same app.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too feasible there, but I guess on the VR side, yeah, I could see my daughter having interest in there. Like it's the future, so technology by the time she's older, it's going to be obviously like way better. And that's just going to be the talk of the town for her age bracket and her group is because it's new, it's fresh, it's exciting. People are going to be talking about at her school, what are you playing? What are you doing?
Mm.
And I think that's going to only progress as she gets older. So I think that's a benefit. And while I don't want her like just in VR all the time,
Yeah.
the good thing about VeVe is, it's an AR and you can still do cool things in AR. Like what we've seen with VeVe Magic, she's at Disneyland taking pictures with her Disney NFTs, and I love that, and I think we'll see more of that as well. Even more so.
Yeah. And the reason why I mentioned the concept of Vivi Kids is because um, I feel like there are so much potentials for these apps to serve that demographic. Well, there has to be some like restrictions and certain policies that will protect the kids. But if you think about it, kids nowadays will probably listen, like your daughter will probably listen to Elsa rather than listen to you, right? So what if like they can incorporate some animation and some conversational AI into those NFTs, which are pretty easy to do, and maybe like have Elsa engaging with your daughter, maybe telling her like how to treat her classmates or something like that. Tell her stories that will help her develop good habits or things like that. I think that will unlock many benefits that otherwise, if they were to like, if your daughter were to have like a physical Elsa, then that's about it, right? Like there's nothing else you can do to that physical toy. But for an NFT, like the boundary, like there's no boundary at all. So I thought that was a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I think they'll probably do that. I mean, we all assume too, VeVe is just gonna always like have these static things, or they're only going to do this one thing. We could see them partner with Disney on many different levels with experiences, and we've even seen these NFTs on VeVe like actual come from the actual movie, like
Hmm.
assets and like these game assets and things like that. So who's to say Disney just doesn't say, okay, we'll just give you our like AR experience and then let your people enjoy it, and you can do that. And people with maybe certain collectibles, maybe they get airdropped that. Who knows? Like, and like you said, like what if Elsa sings and you're able to
Hmm.
see that, like literally immerse yourself in that experience of seeing Elsa actually sing the whole Let It Go song. Like that would be mind blowing. Like you've seen it in a movie, but seeing it with your own eyes right there, like that would be literally mind blowing. And that's where I think things are going, because it's immersive. You build a even more emotional connection to that character. And Disney, not only is that good for Disney, but they're going to make more money doing that. And that's going to incentivize them to actually do that. And so this is where, obviously, with the VeVeVerse, it's just a snippet of what's to come. This is just the beginning. So it's going to continue to roll out. I mean, we're so early that people just want to judge things on being so early. And, to those people, that I would say, like, just hold on, be patient,
Yeah.
and, just strap in, because it's going to get pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I have this is my favorite question that I came up with as I was doing research about you for this interview. Um, Beside the VeVeVerse, the Lamborghini partnership, there was another announcement, which was the new Ecomi Web3 game. I think it was called Tengoku Sensor or something like that. What do you know about it? So that's the first part of the question. And the second part is, I can see that you are pretty big into the Web3 gaming space. What do you think about the game, and what can Ecomi VeVe do to make it a success, or maybe just to avoid the pitfalls that many other Web3 gaming companies have made?
Yeah, so with games, there's quite a few things you could probably do without getting into like getting to the legal stuff. Is like if it's a game of skill, or if they have tournaments, you could still win things. You could still win NFTs or whatever, because it's a game of skill. So they could promote that in terms of like a tournament, or maybe they do an airdrop to people who win tournaments or something like that to make it really exciting, and do like super limited drops. Obviously with the OMI token, probably being integrated, I would assume. We haven't seen like the fine details just yet. I don't think. I haven't looked into too much into that game, but it looks fun. I mean, I that looks like a cool arcade game from when I was younger, and it also reminds me of Naruto. I don't like. I saw a
Yeah.
ninja in there with like, yeah, yeah. So I was like, ooh, that looks like Itachi's like move or whatever. So it actually looks really fun, and I don't think you need like a triple A like insane quality game. You just need a fun game with a fun game loop, and with good game theory. And I think people just fail to understand that. But that's what makes mobile games make up 70% of the entire gaming revenue in the world. It comes from mobile games, not
Oh wow.
console, not PC, not high quality GPUs, not triple A games, mobile games. And so
Wow.
that, yeah, so you don't need games that are completely insane. Like look at Farmville, look at like all these prior games that had massive success, and they weren't these like insane graphic. Like look at Roblox, it's not insane graphics, like it's blocks. And so I think people just don't really understand gaming when they say stuff like that. In my opinion, they're just, or they have their limited view of what gaming could it is. So yeah.
Did you have the chance to play that Ecomi game?
No, no, they just had that preview. So I wish I would have. That would have been insane. But yeah, I didn't get to
Yeah.
play it. I
And
do. I thought I heard somebody say they played it, like they got a demo of it, but I don't know how you're able to play that. But yeah.
yeah. So is that a game developed by Ecomi, do you know, or if it's like a partnership, like a branded partnership kind of deal?
Yeah, I believe it's a part of Ecomi's ecosystem, much like Epico
Wow.
Regal is what I believe it is. Now, I didn't really ask too many questions. Of course, like the founders were busy. I did talk to Dan Crothers for a little bit, but yeah, I don't know the fine details of what that's going to look like, but I assume it'll be kind of like similar to Epico Regal in a sense.
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned that the mobile gaming is like 70% of the whole market. That's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Like that's yeah. I mean, Epico's mobile game, like, hello. Like so you know what I mean? India is like one of the largest countries in the world.
Mm.
So yeah, like that's their target audience. And I got some like alpha from Vinkantash as well. He's just telling me some details, like the kind of some of their plans that I can't say, but
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting to see Ecomi add more into the ecosystem, and they're only going to continue to do that. Like it's not just VeVe anymore. It's like they're adding these P2E exciting things around in the ecosystem and to incentivize like the Ecomi token. So a lot of our investors, I would say, in our community are pretty brand new to crypto, outside of just being in Ecomi. So I think when that clicks and they start learning more about that ecosystem, I think it's going to be exciting for those people.
Yeah. Um, so I know that you are very involved in a Web3 gaming space. What makes you excited about it? Like, why are you so passionate about Web3 gaming?
Because it's literally the future. I mean, it's literally Ready Player One. And so you can own when you can own your own assets and control what you do with your assets, that's huge. That's a big deal for gamers, especially gamers that I would say are excited for the future, for lack of better words. But I played Call of Duty, I played Halo, I played Fortnite, I played mini games, Street Fight, all the cool titles, right? Pinball, even 2D or like physical games. And the one thing that all the games had in the past is you could never own those assets, never. And nobody would even really even think it. Nobody could fathom that you could actually own a sword in the game, and it's like limited edition. It's like everybody thought, well, what if you could? What if you could? Ready Player One came out, the movie. It's like, oh, well, that's what it would kind of look like. That's pretty cool, like everybody's like, wow. And we're literally here, but people for some reason like the mainstream just doesn't hasn't clicked yet, or they haven't really educated themselves. But if you do get it and it does click, you can take advantage of that in a good way. Like you can get in these games early, get in these ecosystems, build your network, and that's why I'm super bullish on it, because you see like millions of dollars move over still during the bear market. I add, and I saw $500 million from these VC funds just recently. Half of them went specifically to Web3 games. Half of so $250 million, I believe it was, and that was just like a few. That was like a handful of VCs. There's more VCs always investing into these Web3 games. That's only going to continue. I mean, that's a lot of money to put into the Web3 gaming space. So yeah, like it's just going to be the future. It is what it is. Apple is approving NFT mobile games now, and
Oh,
they're going to be launching on there if not already. So
wow. So I don't know anything about Web3 gaming, so I'm a complete beginner.
mm,
How does play to earn work? And let's just take an example. So you probably are familiar with Axie Infinity, right? Well, it's a game originated from Vietnam. I am from Vietnam. I don't understand it. So if somebody plays a game and earns something like play to earn, where does that earning come from?
yeah, so play to earn it was kind of a broken economy. So with Axes, it was like you would fight each other like on this 2D screen, and it just and obviously you could breed these Axes. So that's what made it exciting, is like people would have these like OG Axes or these creatures. They would breed them, and then they would kind of like lend these creatures out, so another player could essentially use them to battle in the game and earn. So that's what really started it, which seemed exciting, right? Like who doesn't want
Mm-hmm.
to like breed and lend their assets out so somebody else could play? So now you make even more money. And but this was duplicated about to infinity. So what
Right.
happens when you duplicate economy to infinity? You're essentially printing money at a scale that is not sustainable. So that's what happened with Axie is it turned into be like, it was not on purpose, but it was just because they were so early. They just wanted a fun game and they just put it out there. And they did a lot of like pioneering type of stuff, but you can't have that type of economy at scale. It just doesn't work because it'll collapse. It's literally it's kind of a Ponzi in a sense. You just can't print that type of at scale on that gaming. So play and earn, however,
Mm,
is stable because you're not playing literally just to earn and that's it. And you have a broken economy. Play and earn is you're playing, you're having fun. You might not earn as much, but you do get rewarded for it, or you could get rewarded for it for having like maybe a cosmetic or a skin in the game that you could sell that you're taking your skill and you're putting it to use, and that's sustainable. So the other model where it was just breeding, not so much sustainable. But
mm.
somebody that plays, loves a game, what we've seen with VeVe, the VeVe economy, people flip constantly trying to upgrade their stacks, or maybe they're
Right.
maybe they're stacking their gems. That's what will happen in these games, and that's what will make it sustainable.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I never thought of the concept of play and earn, and I love your analogy of the OMI like marketplace slash ecosystem. That's really cool. So let's go back to VeVe Ecomi a little bit. What do you think about the OMI utility program? And tell me something that you like and something that you dislike or you think they can do better.
Yeah, so I would say in terms of the OUP, I always obviously like the tiers. I like the benefits. I think you can there's a feature on like every tier that you can, I think, rent or something like that. I think is
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah, which is pretty exciting and actually really mind blowing. But that was kind of like my favorite perk. The other one was the negative. I think it was like had to do with the gem pool. I think
Mm,
it was there's somebody on Twitter that pointed out an OG Javier, I think it was, um, which is kind of like the Achilles heel of the OUP in a sense, because you do or no, it was an option I believe to sell an NFT. You have to like provide some of that liquidity up front
all right. Yeah.
to sell, and I think there's another issue with the pool as well. But the pool, I think, will just work itself out long term. I think short term, it's a good solution, and I think long term, it won't be like we won't have to worry about it as much in terms of like maybe a liquidity crunch in the pool, or maybe there's not a lot of gems in the pool or whatever. I think that will buff out in long term. I also think the upfront fee, will also buff out long term when we have like millions of users. I don't think necessarily what they could do is they could just amend that and change that. So I don't necessarily see that as a long term issue. But those were kind of the two ones I noticed kind of off the bat. But again, it's not like I'm like, flooding it, if you will.
Yeah, I thought it is like a masterpiece compared to the first version of it. Obviously, there are certain things that they need to improve, like the like deposit of seller fee in gems. That can be a lot if you want to sell like a big item, right? Um, do you see yourself stake your OMIs?
Yeah, yeah.
And what is your strategy?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna be pretty conservative when it comes to that. Like I already have gems in the app, or you said staking gems or staking like OMI. Is that
OMI.
what you mean? Oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
OMI, yeah, I already have OMI in the app, and I've been kind of transparent about that number. Like it's just a small amount. I'll probably ramp it up a little bit, but I'm not. I'm just gonna be conservative. It's gonna be play by ear. What brands are gonna be dropped here in the short term? Obviously, I want to be swing trading into more OMI just personally, or just putting a little bit more and more into my OMI stack. So yes, I will be stacking or staking OMI to the tier that makes sense for me and my budget. So maybe like tier 3 or something like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I my last interview, I interview Hello K. I'm editing it right now. Um, and he mentioned that, well, Ree mentioned in one of the Telegram AMAs that it's gonna take them 12 months to get everything out, like to have the complete functional OUP thing rolling out. And Kay mentioned a really good point. That is like whatever timeline they give us, multiply that by 1.5 or 2. And that's when they will actually have it readily available for us. And I thought that was a really good point. So I think like from now until probably like the end of 2023, I think it's going to be very interesting how people prepare themselves for the OUP and MCP, and maybe both. Yeah, so I think it's going to be very interesting. Which one are you leaning towards?
Like OUP versus MCP.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's kind of a balance, right? So for me, it's kind of like 50-50 maybe. It just depends on what my strategy is. And there's so much gamification in it, in that in itself. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like this like revolving circle. So it's like, yeah, you could sell some of these NFTs into OMI when OMI is like low, maybe, or maybe people undervalue or maybe they overvalued an asset and Omi's low. So you could,
right.
like let's say pretend Todd was like 10K and Omi's like 0007 or something. And it's like boom, you could switch that into Omi, and then Omi goes up, and then Todd kind of goes down, and then you could swap back into it. So it's kind of like this nice like circle of life kind of thing going on. So I think there's definitely a balance to be had. So I think I'll have to experience it a little bit more to fine tune my strategy there. But I think a balance would be probably my first, what I would have to say first.
So my next question for you is: you've been with VeVe for a long time. What are some mistakes that you made, and what have you learned from those mistakes?
Man, I should have trusted my gut and bought more Todds. I think there's a few of us that wish we would have, but yeah, like if I was to go back in time, I would have listened to my gut more. I had a buddy that I was having look at it, and he was like, "No, man, I don't know about this." And the vibes kind of killed my vibes. Like I was like, "Oh," and it had me second guessing. But I was like, "Wait a minute, these are like the first ever on the blockchain, and you're not bullish about this?" But he did like inject like his FUD into my vibes. So it caused me to not listen to my gut. My gut was telling me you need to buy reso, you need to buy all these like you need to buy 2 or 3 resos or whatever is good for my budget at the time, and ape into some of these things. So that was definitely my worst decision I made, was to hold off and kind of like not buy stuff. I still bought early, but that was a big mistake. Honestly, I haven't made too many mistakes there, other than obviously the big one. I think everybody probably would be in the boat of not like taking some gains when in January, when it was like sky high. Everything was like insane, prices and things like that. So taking a little bit of gains off the table, like obviously is good, I think, right? Because now you can reinvest it into the app or do whatever, and that's always good for people's finances, obviously. So that was probably a big mistake. Learning and navigating NFTs is new concept for a lot, including myself. At least the past, a couple years, it's almost been. And I would say that was probably the one of my biggest lessons, is navigating that, and like how to be able to part with these NFTs that you
Yeah.
find so special. So it's hard to do, but navigating that, I would say too.
What are some of your best decisions that you have made on VeVe? Maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I would say like flipping into certain like other grails. Like I noticed like I was kind of early doing that already. I saw people kind of caught on to that and started doing that too, but always researching and finding undervalued assets and looking at the charts and seeing like, oh, this is clearly undervalued and this will go up, long term. So I have a lot of my technical analysis that I've learned from stock trading and crypto trading and forex trading, literally all the trading. I add that experience into trading these NFTs. So those have been kind of my like bigger successes. Like I bought, I think, 2 Steamboat Willies, and they went up to 10K. Again, I should have took profit, but I wrote most of that down, and I still have one of my like original Steamboat Willies, but it was a success. But I should have just like took money off the table. Ironically, biggest failure too. But
Yeah.
uh, no, yeah. So getting the secret rare Spider-Man was good too. I still have it though, so I haven't really taken the gains off that one, but the gains I have taken and some good plays have been like comics and things like that. And I think good plays are still on the table. There's still a lot of undervalued stuff in the app that can go a long way in the future. So
So you mentioned you took some lessons you learned from other kinds of tradings into VeVe. Can you elaborate on that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So So yeah, with stock markets, like for instance, I have like have like a trading view account, and I can set up like screen like some screening things that and filters. So it'll screen the entire stock market and search for undervalued stuff. So I have it set up to like how I like it. And I kind of do the same analysis in the VeVe app. So I apply like my own brain like as a personal like scanner or screener in the app, and I'll go through and I'll look for the assets that I like, and I'll see what their prices are, like how many sold at that price or around that price. So I look at price history and to see what that is. I'll look at how many are listed and how many has been listed traditionally. So I just use that data, and we don't have any like screeners currently, but I just use what I've learned in stocks and charting and technical analysis and fundamental analysis, and saying, okay, this is a good one. This is a good to hold, and I've been really successful doing that using what I applied in my stock market trading to this, and that's how that's really helped me in the app.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. I have learned a few tricks myself as well. Like I made tons of mistakes, but recently one thing that I've been doing is well, today, like nowadays, not every single drop will make you money, right? And I'm at a period where I need to flip to have that gems, that runway to continue with VV for the long run. And what I've been doing is figuring out a way to decide what drop to go for. And I noticed that um, popular drops always make money, right? But popularity is qualitative. Is there a quantitative way to know which drop will make me money? So what I did was I sat down, I analyzed 10 drops that happen anywhere between August and October. And I was looking for a metric, like a good metric that will decide whether a drop is worth going for. And I noticed that, sorry, 1 second. Let me turn this off real quick. And I noticed that the number of retweets has so retweet for the first ever post about a drop. Usually VeVe would post twice about any drop. Let's just say Golden Dragon Girl, right? Like for example, Golden Dragon Girl, VeVe would post, usually a drop happens on a Thursday, right? VeVe would post about it the first time on a Tuesday and a second time on a Wednesday. So on a Wednesday, they will share like the Medium article with the mint numbers and those kind of things. I usually look at the first ever post. So I took the number of retweets of the first post of each collectibles over 2 months. I think there were like 10 data points. And I noticed that on average, the post during the drops during that time, if any drop has more than 500 retweets for that first ever post, those drop will make me money. So that is like a trick that I've been that I've been applying to decide whether I should go for a drop or not. So and that doesn't include like Dcon, because Dcon has a lot to do with scarcity. But for like a regular Marvel drop or something like that, I would look for the first post on a Tuesday, see how many people retweet it from Tuesday until the morning of the Thursday. So that's like a 40 hours period to collect data and to analyze it. And then if on the Thursday before the drop, if it has above 500 retweets, then I know I'm going to go for it. So that's just kind of like those kind of things that I've learned over time. And so my next question for you is, let's just say that you have $3,000 laying around and you can go shopping. You can allocate it, that $3,000 to VeVe, into OMI, and or to OMI. How would you allocate it, that money? And it can be to VeVe, it can be to OMI, it can be a hybrid. And if you were to spend it on collectibles, it has to be 2 or more collectibles. Like you cannot spend that whole amount on one collectible. All right, this is gonna be a shopping with Kyle edition.
It has to be two or more collectibles, you said?
You have $3,000. You can buy
Right.
collectibles and or OMI. If you were to buy some collectible, it has to be two or more collectibles.
Two or more. Okay. Two or more
Yeah.
collectibles. Could it be the same collectible though? Like the same, like let's say two
No,
Todds?
no,
Okay.
no.
All right. So yeah, like here's how I would do it. I would probably buy like 500 OMI, then I'd put $2,500 into the app and get like two Supermans, one Todd, and like a couple of AF-15 common comic book covers if there was anything left over. So it'd be quite simple like that. Like I would probably be pretty quick to pull the trigger on like those kind of assets. Now, if I really wanted to dig and I really wanted to like maximize that, what I would do is I'd break down even more. Like I'd go into the comics, look at all the undervalued covers. Like we have the Ghost Rider. There's like a bunch of covers that are probably undervalued that you could also just stack to and like with 2,500 you could do a lot of damage with some of those like common covers, and in a bull market those are going to like easily 2x 3x or whatever in some cases. So you could even buy like cheap, really cheap low mint common or comics, which seem to be like they were. I don't know how they're doing now. I haven't checked into those in a while, but those could be, that could be another strategy. Like some people are like heavy on comics and light comics, and they really like to like find the diamond in the rough in those like low mints. So that could be an interesting strategy as well. It's just I'm more on the like super low risk and like high reward. And I don't necessarily need that like a clean 2x or clean like 3 or 4x. Like I just need to make gains. And if I can consistently do that and I'm consistently winning all the time, what's going to happen is like I'm just going to continue to accumulate, and I will mitigate my losses, and I don't want to speculate like on so much of the other stuff. I just want to be able to have that liquidity, because liquidity matters. It's at speed as well. So I'll win, and I have speed and I have liquidity on my side. Now I can make moves even quicker. So versus like the other strategies, which it may take more time. So, but it does, and you require more personal liquidity to use into the app. But with $3,000, that's something I would consider doing. I think OMI is got plenty of time before it goes up. So that's why I would say like only $500. So
Right. Have you always had that strategy, or it is something that has evolved over time as you went through like the bear market, mistakes, those kind of things?
yeah, it's always evolving because things are always changing. That the market's always going up or down or whatever, right? And so you always have to be reevaluating to see what's going on, not only in the app but outside in the macro, like macroeconomics. So yeah, my strategies changed for sure. I mean, I was accumulating some OMI, and but I knew that the app was going to pop off. I knew like these collectibles were pretty valuable, and so my first priority was always to collect these NFTs, the first of like the FAs. And a lot of us were in Discord. There was no Twitter Spaces early on, and we would talk about a lot of that in the Discord, and people just like it finally clicked, and people are like, oh my gosh, these are like the first ever. And that's when everything like kind of went mad after that. But yeah, that was like my priority at the time. Now it's like, whoa, 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 let's take a look at this. Like OMI is super undervalued, and it may continue to be undervalued for a while, but also the collectibles are kind of looking quite nice too. So there's going to be nice little windows there. It just depends on like your own personal strategy. I'm not stressing either one. I'm just going to be casual about it. If I have liquidity, I'm gonna deploy it in areas I see fit. So it's going to be definitely a game for from now moving forward, just because, like you mentioned earlier, OUP timelines might shift a little bit. So therefore, my strategy might shift a little bit. So it's going to be based on milestones and what happens, even with MCP. Like if that happens pretty soon, obviously the collectibles might have some impact really quickly, and so I might look to hurry up and get into position there if I'm speculating that it may release soon. So yeah, always changing, always reevaluating on a day-to-day basis, and moving with the, or I guess like moving with the punches or whatever, rolling with the punches.
Yeah, I noticed that from speaking with other OGs and whales and other folks in the community, that people have gravitated towards, well, people have shifted their strategy from diversifying, getting the set, to
Mhm.
stacking FAs, because we've been through so many bear markets, so many FURTs and things like that. It's been 2 years now almost. And I think people, especially me personally, I only see the value in FAs, just because of the supply and demand scale. Like VeVe can always roll out 3, 4 collectibles or comics every single week. So that supply is just gonna get bigger and bigger every day. But first will always be first. So I was able to pick up my second Todd Batman a month ago. It was like the mint was like 10 something something, like 1,000 something at floor, and I was like super happy about it. So my strategy has shifted a lot from getting different things to just getting the FAs, and I think like I can kind of sense that pattern in you as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's been my primary strategy. Now, I do like to do. I still will collect a couple things that I like, and I will try to do like cheap sets to like mine those master collector points for when that's like ready to go. But yeah, for the most part, I'm just like just accumulating the collectibles I want, like the FAs and the ones that I know will do well that are already proven. They already have like that lore, that history, and that significance that we always talk about in the community. So yeah.
So we are in a very tough time. Well, we are seeing like the NFT crypto space is going through a lot. At the macro level, we have inflation, economic crisis, political conflicts, those kind of things. At the micro level, we have like the different scandals with Luna and FTX, and that costs a lot of the trust from many folks. And then sometimes it just take a long time to build a good product like what VeVe and Ecomi is doing. Do you think that the crypto, and especially I feel like people have to get out of the, well, personally I have to get out of the survival mode before I can think about speculative assets like crypto or NFT again. And that I feel like that is like the general sentiment. So it may take a long time for people to start trusting crypto again, and it's going to take a little bit longer for people to understand and venture into the NFT space. Do you think that we'll be able to recover? And what are the catalysts for recovery, and how long do you think it would take?
Yeah, so that's the $1 million question, right? Like nobody has a crystal ball, nobody can really tell, but a lot of things can help impact that, which like the Fed, for example, like if they decide to quote unquote pivot, that's going to be bullish for stocks, crypto, and the riskier asset, baskets, if you will. And I think NFTs in itself, I was getting offers on like OpenSea just the other day. So it proves that people are still excited about NFTs
Oh,
and the underlying technology has not changed. So, nothing's changed. It's still innovative. It's still pioneering, and it's still a renaissance of, the internet. Like it's an additional layer. So when you look at that, you look at the same thing, what happened with the dot-com bubble and the burst, very similar, we are in unprecedented times where, we notice like a lot of projects go belly up just because it was kind of like the dot-com bubble, but also macroeconomics is also bad at the same time. So it's like it seems extra worse. But like once the market capitulates, we'll be on the road to recovery much quicker that way. So it's not like for me bad, and I'm not like emotional about it. I'm just looking at it in terms of investing. Like I have like a Warren Buffett book behind me. You know what I mean? The
yeah, I saw
primary focus
that.
is like invest when it's low, like when there's blood in the streets. That's when you invest. That's when you should be excited because that means, markets are going to always go up and down. Like there's always going to be crazy talking heads on the radio, freaking out about things. So your job is to not panic and just realize that it's going to be okay long term. So yeah.
um, my last question is actually a two-part question. Where do you see VeVe in 2023 and 2025? And as an OG in the space, and especially in the community, you are very respected, and a lot of people listen to you. What are some advice that you would have for maybe existing users, new users, so that they don't get burned, so that they will have a good VV experience and stick around in the long run within this space?
Yeah, so 2023, if they are able to roll out some features, I definitely think that would be positive on the price. And I kind of was thinking like 2 to 3 years would be recovering in the economy, but I think we might recover actually sooner than I thought, just for basic some things I've been seeing in the macro. But yeah, we could be OMI token if OUP's out, could be very exciting in 2023. I think it's going to be conservative. I don't think it's like OMI token's going to be like raging or anything like that.
Yeah.
But 2025, if everything's going as planned and expected, and they're rolling out exciting things, like it could be massive in 2025. The VeVeVerse fully expanded. We're all chilling, hanging out. Like things are just going to be clicking in people's heads. Like, oh, this is what the VeVeVerse is. Oh, like this is super fun. People are investing, investors are back into the space. OMI token at that time probably will be popping pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of excitement in 2025 for sure. That's a reasonable conservative estimate for me to see things really popping off is in 2025. I think it's just going to be insane. Like the Dcons like are going to be unreal. Like everything's going to be unreal. Like they're going to be like crazy busy all the time. But yeah, like what I would say to a new person in VeVe or somebody new just hanging out, sticking around, seeing what's up, and why they should stick around long term is literally the VeVeVerse and these like friendships, and the community is like family. So you can always find a place, you can always hang out. Like people are going to be having parties, events in the VeVeVerse. It's already like people are already planning these things. Like it's just going to happen. So stick around and buckle up because it's going to get exciting. People are going to throw like we have non-fungible wonderful, probably going to be doing concerts in there. We're going to be hanging out like, and then we'll be going to the Dcons in the real life. You know what I mean? So like there's just going to be so much you can actually get from this. And you don't even have to pay a dime. You just hang out, you know what I mean? Other than paying for like maybe a physical event. So yeah, there's just a lot to look forward to in the future. So we're just like literally like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we were early a couple years ago where it was super early, but now we're early. And so it's like we still haven't had that S curve of adoption. And like when that happens, it's game over. It's already kind of game over. It's just we're just early. It hasn't clicked in people's brains quite yet. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Kyle, thank you so much for what you do for the community, man. And personally, I really appreciate you spending the time and coming on and sharing your knowledge. I think like the stories you have with experiencing the VeVeVerse for the first time and mobile game adoption, and just your perspective on things and how your strategy have changed over time, and especially most of all your positive perspective. It's just awesome. And yeah, I'm super glad to have you on today, and I hope that I can invite you back on maybe next year or something like that, where we can get back together and chat about how things have changed over time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure to be on the channel, man. And you're doing amazing content. I see you on Twitter, man, and you've been a blessing to the community. So it was a pleasure and an honor, man, being on the channel. And yeah, let's do it again next year. So can't wait.
That is it, you guys. I hope you have enjoyed our conversation today. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to check out the VeVe OMI holographic cards. And most of all, subscribe now so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights. Everything on VeVe and the OMI tokens. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again next time. Peace.